This Friday, October 25th, NBA Betting Picks edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code NBA SGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and the NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. The NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Network. Get into the Friday betting card in the association. Pretty eventful night in the association to start the NBA season here on Tuesday and Wednesday. We've got a full game of schedules happening on Friday night. I'm going to go through each and every game for the schedule. But joining me here to help me break everything down for the Friday card, you guys know as the voice of the MLB Gambling Podcast, of course, on the pregame show for the Propcast on NFL Sundays. I got my guy here with me. It's Lonte Smith. Lonte, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Didn't have a good night last night, but did decent in the first night. So I'm looking to bounce back here. Good weekend of sports overall, not just in the NBA, but I know we're focused on the NBA right now, but definitely a good weekend of sports.
Yeah, man. I've made 5 bets, side and total outside of props. 4 of them I've been on the wrong side of the hook. So it's been that kind of start for me to the NBA season. I know I had the Kings last night. They fell a little bit short. That was a really good game last night between the Timberwolves and the Kings. And then also had Shea 30-plus points and the Thunder to win in a parlay as my as my dog. And Shea ended up only with 28 points last night as the Thunder made easy work of the Denver Nuggets. And defensively, that team is going to be really, really good. For the season there. That's already that's without Isaiah Hartenstein there to kind of give him even more of an anchor. But Chet last night, Jalen, just 1-9, 1-10 for those guys that are in the rotation for the Thunder. This team is going to be really good defensively. But we could quickly recap last night before we get into the games here for Friday. But anything else kind of catch your eye from last night?
Not really. I don't think nothing really caught my eye. I thought that a lot of teams started out well. A lot of teams that lost started out well and then couldn't finish. For instance, I know we saw San Antonio start out pretty good in the first half against Dallas, just didn't have it in the second half. We even saw Washington put up a fight in the beginning of that game. And I think they led actually in the second quarter, and then Boston kind of turned it on. And then the game that we were both on was Sacramento. Sacramento, always really good home team. They started out strong, just had a bad third quarter. Overall, I mean, I thought it was an eventful night, but I mean, I don't think anything happened that was outlandish or anything like that. I mean, we saw Clay fill it up in his first home game or first game period as a Mav. Yeah, he did. I thought that they didn't play as well as I thought. I mean, it was pretty much just Luka and it was just Luka and Clay, really. I think they had 60 of the points of the total points. PJ didn't have a good game. I think Kyrie had maybe 16, but overall, it's gonna take some time for them to gel. Adding Clay in there, I thought that I'm trying to rattle off just random stuff that I thought about. I think Minnesota's in trouble, man. I know they won, but you had 65 of your points come from Randall and Anthony Edwards. That I don't think that's sustainable at all. Maybe definitely not from Randall. Ant can probably be a little bit more sustainable in what he's doing, but I just don't think that they can just keep. They got to do something, man. They got 4 points from Gobert, 7 from Dane. They didn't get anything from those other guys, and you're putting that much pressure. I mean, Ant is even bringing up the ball, so it's gonna be tough for Minnesota, but that's one of the reasons why I like them under their win total. But overall, man, I thought it was a good night. I think we got a good night ahead. We got some coaches returning to their old stomping grounds. Got some players coming back. So, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think that's something I mentioned for the Timberwolves that as the season progresses, they're going to have to. There might be a little bit of a struggle for them trying to find that secondary scorer. And it's supposed to be Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, collectively as a group last night, they were able to make 3-point shots. Between Naz Reid, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Anthony Edwards obviously going to show out as well. But until it might, like you mentioned, it's going to probably take that Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards have to put up 55, 60 plus points a night. Is that going to be sustainable? I'm not sure, but obviously so very, very early in the season here to make these determinations. So usually I always say that it takes a couple of weeks here for us to kind of gather the data points and the stats here. So again, I trend very, very lightly at the beginning of the year here. So I'll say this. When I give out my lock and dog, I'm already 0-4. I'll be transparent to start this.
0-4. What did you have in our episode for the first? Because I split. I got the Lakers. You had the Lakers, right?
Did I have the Lakers? I don't think I had the Lakers. I had
maybe it was just in the handicap because I know we both had the Knicks that lost.
I had Lakers and Braun for his rebounds and assists to go over as my lock.
Oh yeah, he only had 9.
Then I took the Knicks plus 5.5, and then
we both lost.
Celtics went out and tied the NBA record for 29-3. So I didn't have that in my handicap. Sorry, guys, but we're gonna get better. It's a very, very early in the season, obviously. So we're gonna grind it out here for the season here. So appreciate everybody that does tap in. Just a reminder, if you are watching live and you're getting to this pod, the World Series kicks off Friday night, and the MLB Gambling Podcast, we're hosting a contest. It's free to enter. All you got to do is just head to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/World Series to enter. Winner gets a $150 SGPN gift card. And always, just want to thank our listeners here on the NBA Gambling Podcast. Appreciate everybody that does tap in with us, whether you listen on the audio version on Spotify or Apple, or join us live in the chat, man. We wouldn't be here without you guys. So definitely appreciate you guys. If you could also do us a favor, just head over to Spotify, give us a 5-star rating, and leave a comment. Only you can prevent corporate gambling from taking over. All right, Lonte, let's get into it, man. A lot of games to get through here. So let's start it off here with the Brooklyn Nets. They are in Orlando to take on the Magic. Magic currently 11.5-point home favorite in this game with a total of 215.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, we'll start here with the Brooklyn Nets. They will be without Bojan Bogdanovic. They'll also be without Daron Sharp and Trendon Watford. For the Orlando Magic, Jonathan Isaac is questionable already. He's already dealing with a left hip contusion, and that is pretty much it here. Brooklyn Nets, they kept it pretty competitive in that first game against the Hawks, only for the Hawks to, I think they won the game but didn't cover the number. And then Orlando made easy work of the Miami Heat in their opener in Miami here. So now back home in their home opener, taking on the Brooklyn Nets. 11.5 points is the number here. Lonte, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm gonna lean. I'm probably gonna play Brooklyn for a little something. I thought they looked decent enough. We saw Jalen Wilson kind of come off the bench and give a spark. I thought that they had plenty of times where they could have quit in that Atlanta game, but they didn't. So I think. So I'm sorry. I'm trying to mute this call real quick. I think that Orlando was okay, but they just had a really big third quarter. I think they outscored them 38-19, outscored the Heat. But Orlando's been really good at home. They're looking to start 2-0. They're looking to start 2-0 for back-to-back seasons since 92-93 and then 93-94. That was the first 2 seasons of Shaq's career. But it's something about the Nets that I'm intrigued by. They were playing hard. Now they don't have the best of talent, but they play hard. Orlando maybe a little, looking over them a little bit. They had a big division game against the Heat. They play, like I said, they play well, but it's just that third quarter where they just were unstoppable. I think Paolo scored 20 points in that third quarter. So I'm gonna go with Brooklyn here. I'm gonna take the points. Back door should be open for them. Cam Thomas, obviously 20 points in that fourth quarter against the Hawks, almost brought them back. So I'm gonna go with the Nets here. Maybe an under with Orlando defensively being so good.
Yeah, I know last year when we started the season, Orlando was very, very profitable in the first half of games, and it just also goes to the fact that I think that defensively this team is going to be really, really good. So I like him in the first half. I like him in the first half. Orlando Magic. If you want to take him on the spread there, but I do agree about the under in this game. It's really, I mean, what was it? Cam Thomas had 36 points for the Brooklyn Nets in the opener there against the Atlanta Hawks. And Hawks, we know defensively probably are not going to be very good. I mean, yeah, they have the guys that can play defense, like the Jalen Johnsons of the world, the DeAndre Hunters of the world. But I think collectively from like 1-5, 1-7 for Orlando, they have guys that buy in on the defensive end. And I think that there could be some limitations here for the Brooklyn Nets. So under 215.5, Orlando first half is what I am looking at in this game on the spread. Didn't have many player props. I mean, I think the auto bet right now would be Cam Thomas to go over his points. Maybe not in this game. I think defensively, I think Orlando can really give fits here. So, yeah, we'll leave it at that. All right, let's get over to the next game on the board. We'll go over to the Philadelphia 76ers. They are in Toronto, take on the Raptors. Looking at the lines for this game, the Sixers are a 5-point favorite with a total of 219.5. Injury report for the Sixers. They will be without Joel Embiid and Paul George for this week. Caleb Martin is probable. He is dealing with a right calf contusion. For the Toronto Raptors, pretty extensive here. Guys that are officially out, Kelly Olynyk and Bruce Brown, and then RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley are both doubtful for this game. So those are 4 top guys there that are going to be out for this, either out or doubtful in this game here for the Raptors. We saw Raptors just get pummeled in their first game by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Sixers obviously being without their two of the top 3 guys, I should say, in Embiid and Paul George, at least for this week. We'll see what transpires. But the number is 5 right now for the Sixers on the road here. Lonte, what are you thinking about this matchup?
Yeah, I'm liking the Sixers here. Nick Nurse returning back to Toronto. I know they're dealing with injuries. They played pretty well. Just kind of got away from them at the end of that second quarter, into the second half against the Bucks. Kind of just got overwhelmed. Maxey was inefficient, to say the least. 10 of 31 from the field, 2 of 9 from 3. He was saying that, I guess people were trying to make an excuse like, hey, are you guys, down because of Embiid and George? But he was just saying that, he wasn't going to sit there and say they played bad because of those guys were out. Obviously, they were a factor in it, but he felt like he was pressing a little bit too much, and he just was inefficient. So I think that Philadelphia bounces back here. They shot 8 for 31 from 3, 41.8% from the field. The Raptors likely to get. Are they going to get RJ back? I know Brown, Olynyk, and Walter are out, but are they going to get
RJ's doubtful, and so is Emmanuel Quickley.
Yeah, so that's another reason. I mean, this is way too short. I honestly thought Quickley was going to come back. I know he left that second half, but man, that's their top three guys, 3 out of 5 on the team. I mean, Scotty Barnes, and then they just don't have enough here. I think Toronto is. I think Philadelphia comes in and lays the hammer down. Probably going to be one of my better plays. I would also go with the over. I don't think Toronto plays any defense at all. I think Philadelphia, obviously just one game, but I think they'll shoot better.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a monster rebounding game here for Andre Drummond. We talked a lot about just taking opposing centers against the Toronto Raptors. Evan Mobley and Jared Allen combined for 16 rebounds in that game. Dean Wade even had 8 rebounds in that game for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I think that's one of the top looks. It's probably going to be 14.5, 15 rebounds for Andre Drummond. But
I think I saw 12.5.
Okay, 12.5. I think
I saw 12.5. Unless that was an early number.
Yeah, it was probably early. I saw 12.5 for the opener for him.
13.5 minus 120. I see it.
Yeah, so I mean, he had 13 rebounds in 25 minutes. I think he had like 8 in the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken, in that Bucks game in their season opener there. But yeah, you mentioned, right, Maxey, 31 shots in that opening game, maybe pressed a little bit, 10 of 31 from the floor, 25 points. Kelly Oubre, 8 of 18. He had 21 points. So I think collectively, like you mentioned, Lonte, that, for this team to go 8 of 31 from 3-point land, and Kyle Lowry was 3 of 5. So outside of Kyle Lowry, they went, 5 of 26 did the Philadelphia 76ers. But again, it's the fact that the main key guys for this Raptors team are out, and
Yeah,
again, keep
right.
an eye out for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly if they do play. We know Bruce Brown is out for sure, Kelly Olynyk, but when you're reaching for your 10, 11, 12 guys to come in and make a difference, I just don't think that's going to be in the realm of possibility here for the Toronto Raptors. So I like the Sixers here. I expect them to shoot it better in this game here as well. You mentioned the over. Philadelphia 76ers team total over until I see any type of defense being played here from the Toronto Raptors. I'm just going to continue taking opposing team totals over. We saw 36 points, 139 points.
Yeah, 36, I think.
Yeah,
The Cavs. Yep.
for the Cavs. So I think that's just going to continue here for opposing teams here. So team total over for the Philadelphia 76ers in this game here as well. All right, before we get over to the next game on the board, let me tell everyone about our good friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy Pick'em has one of the biggest menus for all sports: NFL, college football, MLB, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, and much more. Boostober is upon us, which means you're getting a spooky amount of profit boost and much more. And with the NBA tipping off this week, every NBA Pick'em entry from October 19th to the 27th will be boosted. And you can now use specials and boost on all flex entries. So sign up with promo code NBA SGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you use our promo code NBA SGPN. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Let's get over to the next game on the board and the rematch of last year's the conference semifinals between the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks. This one will be on national TV here tonight. Knicks are a 4.5-point home favorite with a total of 227 in this game here, Lonte. And looking at the injury report, let's start here with the Indiana Pacers. Isaiah Jackson for the Pacers is questionable. And James Wiseman, unfortunately suffered that left tendon injury tear in his Achilles in that opening game. He's going to be out for an indefinite amount of time. For the Knicks, they're going to be a little bit thin up front. You got Precious Achua, who's going to be out, and Mitchell Robinson continues to be out, I think, at least till December here. But should be a good one here, a rematch of the conference semifinals here, Lonte. But what are your thoughts on the Knicks on the spread and total? You're on mute.
It got me again. Yeah, so I like the Knicks here. First quarter, first half, full game. I like the trifecta here. You know what? If you just look at the way that the game was flowing in the opener, they were making shots. It's just that Boston was just making that many more at that volume. I think at one point in time, they were shooting 56% and were down like 20. That's like unheard of. And I think Jalen Brunson hit his first like 7 or 8 shots. So they played well enough. And some of the shots that they were contesting for Boston, they were just going in. It's just nothing you can do about it at that time. So I don't hold that. I don't hold that against them. What I do want to see is a little bit more of fluidity with the offense. I thought Jalen Brunson, the times that he was off the ball, the offense moved a little bit more. They had kind of Josh Hart initiating, and the dribble handoff with Towns, and Brunson was really effective. So the Pacers didn't play well in that first game. They squeaked it out. They had a big second half, big fourth quarter. Detroit just couldn't find a way to win it at the end. They kept coming up short in key moments. But Detroit gave them all they can handle. But again, we know what this rivalry consists of. We saw it last year, and I think it's going to bleed over to this year as well with a competitive high-level matchup. I'm going to go with the Knicks here in a trifecta. I think they perform well. They obviously have performed well, just ran out of bodies in that semis. And I think they get a little bit of revenge here. So I like the Knicks in a trifecta here. And probably I might just put in a parlay with the Knicks and the 76ers, a little Philly, New York parlay, money line parlay.
Yeah, I think that this is a spot here ultimately for the New York Knicks, right? We talk about the immediate revenge factor after being eliminated, and that series last year when they got to a game 7, right?
Was it 7? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Knicks were just decimated by injuries in that series, right? I know obviously Julius Randle is no longer with this team, but he missed the entire postseason for the Knicks. Josh Hart was playing full 48 minutes. Jalen Brunson was dealing with, I think it was a hand or a foot injury. OG Anunoby as well. So they didn't have their key guys in that game 7 there, and guys just being in out of the lineup. So I think this is a spot here, Madison Square Garden, Friday night, in a spot here. I think that this is going to be a good. I like your trifecta call: first quarter, first half, and full game. I'd look at the Knicks in the first half in particular, just because they've just been very, very profitable. But don't be surprised if this is a 10+ point victory for the New York Knicks. I think they're just going to be motivated. You mentioned, right? I mean, that opener of the season opener with the Knicks and Celtics, they were shooting 55+% to be down 20+ points just because the Celtics were knocking down every single 3-point shot. And I'm not sure if you saw what Josh Hart said. He says, like, I've never seen anything like this before. Those guys
Yeah, I
just
saw
get
it.
tested over there. So yeah, I think that this will be interesting. JR making a good point here that Indy could have some success down low. But I think my more preferred part in this game is going to be the over. I just think that this 227 is really low. I think the Pacers are going to continue pushing the pace as they have always done under Rick Carlisle. And I think that now a healthy squad here with the New York Knicks, I think that they'll be able to keep up with the scoring there as well. So I like the Knicks team total over as honestly my favorite play in this game. For that to get over, I think that number would be around 115.5 in this game. Or no, sorry, it'll be, let's see what we got, 227, 113. Yeah, it would be around 115, 116.5. So I do like that to get over for the New York Knicks. Anything else for this game here, Lonte?
No, that's it. I would agree with you on that on that total, but I think the full game can go over. We're going to see a lot of pace.
Yeah, I think
I
so.
wouldn't expect the Knicks to shoot maybe north of 55%, but I think they'll be able to find their spots. And to JR's point, I mean, I think that's kind of Turner and Siakam is kind of to their advantage because they don't play in the paint, so Cat won't be able to get in foul trouble. He'll be on the perimeter more often than not, guarding. And then Siakam, they got 2 guys in Bridges and OG who OG's familiar with him as well. Can kind of rotate on him. So I think that can be a key to the Knicks' success as well.
Yeah, I think that also with Bridges, I mean, what he finished with 16 points in that game, but him changing his shot.
Don't remind me.
Yeah, but he didn't knock down 3 3-pointers, right? He only had, I think it was like 2 of 7, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he started off like 0-5.
Yeah. I mean, with the new shot adjustment that he's made, feels like there's a little hitch in the shot. We'll see if that's able to improve here, but I think the pace is going to be, I think, outstanding in this game. And I think we're going to be seeing. I feel like this total is really, really low here at 227. So my favorite play again is going to be the over 227 in this game. All right, let's move it along here. Let's get over to the Detroit Pistons. They are in Cleveland to take on the Cavs. Cavs are currently laying 11 points in this game with a total of 228.5. Looking at the injury report for this teams, let's start here with the Pistons. Asur Thompson is going to be out for this game. He is returning. It says return to competition reconditioning. So he's been out for a little bit there. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, Imani Bates is going to be out. He's on that 2-way deal with the G League. Max Strus, we know, continues to be out with that right ankle injury. And that is pretty much it here. Cavs laying 11 here, Lonte, against the Pistons. What are you thinking about this game?
Yeah, I like the Pistons here, man. We got JB returning to the crime, the scene of the crime where he's fired at. Detroit, like I said earlier in the breakdown, they played as well as you could for 3 quarters, maybe even 3.5, because the game was kind of getting away from them in that 4th quarter with Indiana, and they kind of battled back. Actually, took a lead. They just couldn't make any. They just couldn't make any shots down the stretch to kind of extend the lead. But I like Detroit here. I think they'll be physical. They got the big, obviously, enduring. They got Stewart, so they got some bigs to kind of combat what Cleveland has. Physical guards. I think Bickerstaff was preaching. He was happy with the energy. He was happy with the physicality. Also, the communication and execution he thought was really good. Yeah, I'm not really a buyer in Cleveland at all. I don't look too much into what they did against Toronto. I mean, we talked about Toronto. what they were able to not do defensively. The one thing I will say is I don't really like Cade on the ball like that. I mean, I know he's a good facilitator, but I think I'd rather have him in the, combo guard kind of thing. So, I mean, I'm not sure what they can do with the lineup, but that's just my preference. I would rather him be kind of off ball a little bit more, kind of in that, how Donovan Mitchell plays with Darius Garland type of thing. I'd rather see him like that. But I mean, obviously he was great. Wasn't great in the first half though. He was just kind of picking his spots in the first half, and then he came out the second half, played really well. But overall, man, I think Detroit is live in this game. To be quite honest with you, JB is going to be fired up to be back there. I think the guys will be fired up to kind of get them a win or be as competitive as they can be. I like the Pistons. I think it'll be a lower scoring game, a physical game. Both teams with traditional bigs, with Allen and Duran, it's going to be a good matchup. So I think we see a low scoring game, maybe even one team cracks 100. I could see like 101-98, 101-97, something like that. Yeah. So I like the under. I like Detroit to keep it close.
Yeah, I like Detroit here as well. I don't think the Cavs should be laying 11 points here. I'm not taking anything away from what the Cavs did against the Raptors, because my favorite win total of the season, one of them was the under on the Toronto Raptors, under 30.5. So I expected the Cavs to go in there and just beat up on them. The Raptors kept it close in the first quarter, but after that, the Cavs were put away. But guys mentioned Cade. Cade looked really good in the opener here. And how do you combat what the Cavs have in that front court with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley? You have to combat it with bigs of your own, and Jalen Duren, I think, is an answer for that for this Detroit Pistons team. You also take a look. Tobias Harris, again, we know what the story with him is. He just had a really bad shooting night again. But Tim Hardaway Jr., he's going to be able to provide some shooting for this Detroit Pistons team. I really want to see Jaden Ivey just take that next step for this Detroit Pistons teams, because we know what the potential is, and we're going to see Cade just get better and better. Jaden Ivey, they drafted him high for a reason. I think that he needs to take that next step this season for the Detroit Pistons. The only part that does scare me a little bit for the Pistons is the bench. You have Malik Beasley coming off, another shooter there, and then Isaiah Stewart. But after that, it's really guys that I don't really trust in their spots there. But again, the Cavs in no way should be laying 11 points here. Last season, I'll make this quick, 36 home games last season for the Cavs. As a home favorite, there were 26-10 straight up in those spots, but they're only 17-18-1 ATS. That was only 48.6%. So, give me the Pistons here. Great point that you brought up about JB Bickerstaff being back, going up against his former team that fired him. So I know the guys will be fired up for him and play as hard as they can there. So give me the Pistons plus 11.5. Sorry, plus 11 here. Anything else for this game?
Nah, that's it.
All right, let's keep it moving here. We'll get over to the next game on the schedule. We'll go over to the Charlotte Hornets. They are in Atlanta to take on the Hawks. Hawks currently laying 5.5 points in this game with a total of 227. Taking a look at the injury report for both of these teams here. I'll start here with the Charlotte Hornets. They will be without Josh Green. Josh Green is officially questionable for this game. He's dealing with a left Achilles injury. And Mark Williams was going to be out for them as well in this game. He has a left foot injury. And Brandon Miller also out for this game. He's dealing with a left glute strain. So got a little butt injury, does Brandon Miller. He suffered against my Rockets. For the other side, Atlanta Hawks, Bogdan Bogdanovic is going to be out for this game. Kobe Bufkin is also going to be out, and Cody Zeller is going to be out for the Atlanta Hawks. So Bogdanovic, Bufkin, and Zeller all out for the Hawks here. Hornets went into Houston in opening night. They were down 18 and made a furious comeback. LaMelo Ball looked really, really good there for the Hornets. Sure. And they've bought in on the defensive end here as well, Lonte, at least early in the season here. But what are your thoughts on the Hornets and the Hawks here? Hawks 5.5.
Yeah, honestly, I like the Hawks in the spot. I think the injury designation is kind of bad for Charlotte right now. I mean, obviously, you want to get more from Bridges. He didn't really have a good game last time. It was more just LaMelo. Trey Mann had a good showing off the bench. And Miller had I think 10 points early on, or maybe it was 10 minutes he played, or 10 or 11 minutes, but he wasn't
He
he
left the
wasn't as
game
effective.
early.
Yeah, he wasn't effective. He wasn't as effective, I think, dealing with that injury, but just injury concerns. And I don't really trust Atlanta, but I mean, I did see some things. I mean, they did play Brooklyn, so it's hard to take away a bunch from that. But they did play well in space. It was a ton of fouls in that game. It was a physical game. I think we saw Claxton like clothesline, Dyson Daniels.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was crazy. But obviously, I don't think that Charlotte will be that physical, which I think bodes well for what Atlanta wants to do, kind of get up and down, run the floor. Bogdanovich being out is a big thing here, because you want to have that spark off the bench as far as shooting the ball. So you're going to rely more on DeAndre Hunter to play heavier minutes, Jalen Johnson, and Onyeka Okongwu had a really big game as well. But overall, I just think that the Hornets just don't have enough bodies here. LaMelo did a ton of that scoring. LaMelo and Mann did a ton of that scoring.
Yeah.
And they don't
58
have
points.
they don't have the bigs to be able to combat with Capella and Okongwu. So they could have big games here. They're playing Nick Richards, undersized big at the center. He wasn't really much imposing. I mean, he does well against other undersized bigs, but I mean, I like Atlanta in this spot. I think 5.5 is a little bit too short. We saw the Hornets come back on your Rockets, but I mean, I think that had a lot to do with the Rockets just kind of getting complacent. They stopped feeding the ball to Sengun. What was his deal? Like, he didn't play for a long stretch of that game. It wasn't foul trouble.
I don't think it was foul trouble either. I don't know. And that was exactly my point, because he only had 2 fouls in the game.
Yeah.
It could have been, I don't think it was turnovers either, but it may have just been that they had a bigger lead and they're just trying to buy him more minutes on the bench, but he still ended up playing 34 minutes for the Rockets there. So, and that's the thing that worries me early part of the season, is that these coaches are still trying to figure out their minutes and rotations, right? So he got up to, I think he had 11 rebounds in the first quarter. Did Sengun?
Bro, yeah, he did. I think he had like 10 shot attempts in the first quarter.
Yeah, and I was talking to a friend. I was like, man, I want to back Sengun in some way, but I didn't know which way to go. And I looked at his rebounds at 9.5. I think it closed at 10.5, if I'm not mistaken. Then I messaged my friend. I was like, don't, whatever you do, don't look at how many rebounds Sengun has at the end of first. He had 11.
Right. Yeah, but yeah, I like the Hawks here. I think the number is fair, but just with the injuries, you're going to be relying a little bit more on LaMelo. I think Daniels can kind of harass him a little bit to make him work a little bit harder. And now that he doesn't have Brandon Miller, they can kind of shift that defense to trying to neutralize him as well. And other guys, they're just not hitting shots. I mean, Charles Lee was happy with the play. Obviously, we can come back down from 15, 16 points on the road against a quality team like what Houston is being projected to be. Always a good win, especially in your first game back, but in your first head coaching game. So overall, man, I think the Hawks are a little bit better here. I would like to see them be a little bit more efficient at the rim. They missed a bunch of chippies. I thought Trey was good. I think he had 30 and 12, so he was good. But I think they'll kill in the paint. So if you look at Okongwu and Capella rebounds, points and rebounds, I think those guys have a field day in the paint because they don't have much behind Richards. I mean, they're playing Grant Williams at the 5, the small ball 5. Okongwu should be able to dominate on the inside.
Yeah, Okongwu 11 of 12 in that opener for the Atlanta Hawks, 28 minutes, 28 points, and 8 rebounds. You mentioned Trey's number 30 and 12. And that's the key part, like, for this Hornets team is consistent second scorer outside of LaMelo Ball. Like, you're expecting Miles Bridges or possibly Brandon Miller to be that guy. And I think Trey Mann's a great addition, obviously, for this team. I think depends on who gets the start here for Brandon Miller. But I still think LaMelo Ball will have a good game in this game against the Hawks because I don't trust their perimeter defense. Now, if Dyson Daniels is matched up on him, that he could give him fits there, I think that will maybe combat some of that. But I think you're 100% correct when you talk about that. The advantage in this game will be for the Atlanta Hawks inside the paint. Whether it's Capella, whether it's Jalen Johnson, whether it's DeAndre Hunter. I mean, that they have a lot of length in that front court. And like you mentioned, with Okongwu coming off the bench there for this Atlanta Hawks team, I really like the under in this game. I know despite how the Hawks are defensively, I think if they're able to slow down LaMelo Ball, I really don't know who's going to step up in that secondary spot there for the Hornets. So under 227 would be the look here for me. Um, Rebounding props. I mean, if you want to look at any props, I'll quickly shout out Okongwu. You mentioned there, Lonte, Jalen Johnson. I think Jared pointing that out as well. For him on his double tonight. He did have a double in game one, 37 minutes, 11 points and 10 rebounds. But Hawks for me as well, but I will be betting the under 227 in this game here. Another one I'll quickly mention to keep an eye out for Dyson Daniels, maybe his steals, because he did have 5 steals in game one of the
Yeah,
season and one block there as well. So keep that out. If you have if your book has those blocks and steals available combined, I think that's a good look for Dyson Daniels or just his steals alone in this game. All right, Lonte, before we continue going on the schedule here for the NBA card on Friday, let me tell everyone about our friends over at BetUS. Bet with the best in the business. That is BetUS. BetUS has been around for more than 30 years and easily deposit using cryptocurrency and get lightning fast payouts. US players are always welcome. BetUS is live with Trick or Treat on Horror Street. From now until Halloween, BetUS will be offering daily promotions plus a raffle entry to win a sports or casino prize pack that they will give away on October 31st. You can enter multiple times. For every $200 deposit you make to BetUS, you get one entry. So go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS, promo code SGPN. So they know that we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sports book. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. SGPN's proud partner Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered backed sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money line, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or press build a model for me, and Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Plus, Rhythm's NBA models are now live. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And the Rhythm predictive models tonight likes Karl Anthony Towns under 1.5 blocks and steals at plus 105. All right, Lonte, let's continue it here. Still plenty of games to get through here. We'll go over to the Chicago Bulls. They are in Milwaukee to take on the Bucks in this game. Looking at the lines for this game, the Bucks are a 9.5-point home favorite with a total of 235. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, start here with the Chicago Bulls. Lonzo Ball will be out for this game. He did make his debut, but they're being very, very careful with him. EJ Liddell, Sonogo, and DJ Stewart are all questionable for this game. Dallin Terry is available. For the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis is probable. Brook Lopez is probable. We know that Chris Middleton is going to be out for an extensive amount of time. But again, both Lopez and Giannis are probable for this game. Lonte, the number's 9.5 in favor of the Bucks, total 235. What are your thoughts on Bulls and Bucks?
Yeah, so I usually don't have issues laying numbers, especially at home like this with the Bucks. They cover in the Giannis era. I'm gonna say historically, but in the Giannis era, they usually cover those numbers, especially against division opponents. They're really good against division opponents, specifically the Bulls. I mean, the Bulls, they're one of those other teams who played well in the first half and kind of it got away from them on the road against the Pelicans in the second half. So I don't think the Bulls have enough firepower to hang with the Bucks here. They might stick around or make it, semi-close midway through the game, maybe third quarter, and then I think the Bucks will be able to pull away. I thought Prince and Trent played well for the Bucks. If you can see how they got the space going really good with Dame off the high pick and roll with Giannis. You got Trent on one side, you got Prince on the other side, you got Brook diving to the basket, who also can shoot a three as well. So I think they got a lot of things going. Obviously, it's just one game, but I like how they were playing on the road in a hostile environment versus Philly. I know they were down, but they went in and they did exactly what they were supposed to do. I mean, if you look at the point spread, they were only laying with 3.5, 4. So that just goes to show you, the respect for Philadelphia, even without the two of the top 3 guys. So I think they came in, they got adjusted in the first half, came out in the second half, blew the doors off, did what they were supposed to do. I think we see a similar approach here. with the Bucks. I'll lay 9.5.
Did see that Gary Trent Jr. just popped up questionable for tonight.
Okay.
He's had dealing with a calf injury, and then we talked about Brandon Miller. He's going to miss at least 1 week there. So a couple of injury notes that did come about. I'll talk about the Pelicans here in a second. Got some news about DeJounte Murray there as well. But look, historically, the Bucks have owned this Bulls team
Exactly.
over or since 2015, I should say, on the road. In particular, I should say in Milwaukee, the Bucks are 14-6 straight up, but the Bulls have been able to cover those numbers. They're 13-7 ATS here, but I don't know, man. This Bucks team, I feel like it's Doc Rivers that makes me nervous. I'll say that much, right? It's Doc Rivers that makes me nervous. Like, I know what I'm going to get out from Giannis. I know what I'm going to get from Dame. But I kind of struggle with this Bulls team because a lot of sharp people that I respect, they actually like the over on their win total for the
The
Bulls. But
Bulls?
yeah, I didn't get it. I feel like that's going to be when come trade deadline comes around. I feel like they're going to blow this team up, like whether it's Nikola Vucevic that's going to be on the move or whether it's going to be Zach LaVine. I think teams are hesitant to take on Zach LaVine. I think if that trade would have transpired by now, it would have, because his name has been in trade rumors for the past several seasons and just hasn't transpired. Maybe the asking price is too much for the Chicago Bulls, or maybe the contract situation, whatever the case might be. But I'll go with the Bucks here, -9.5. It's their home opener as well. Friday night. Giannis has always dominated this Bulls team. Take a look at his rebounds to go over. I think Dame now finding his ways, with his Bucks team. I mentioned that last year was really a transition year for Dame, right? Because again, he spent his first 10, 11 years with the Trailblazers in the same city, just used to routine, and then having to get up, move his entire family to Milwaukee, a new system, new teammates, and all that
Well,
stuff.
just
So
him, because it's him and his wife divorced, so just him.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just joking.
Dame.
I'm just joking.
But I mean, it's a completely change of scenery. I think that was a transition. So I think that he'll be better this year as well. So yeah, I'll lay it here with the Bucks -9.5. You have anything on the total 235?
I don't. I would more likely go with the Bucks team total over versus the. I don't know if with the Bulls, man. I mean, they're a weird team for me. I don't get it. I can kind of see a path to like why people like them, but just the overarching like questions about Levine, Vucevic, what they're gonna do with those guys. Kind of Patrick Williams. Oh my God, just like I mean, I usually root for North Carolina guys. You know me, but
Yeah.
man, he's pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, I'm just happy for Alonzo, to be honest. I know you brought that up earlier. Happy that he was able to come in and play, hit his first shot. I know that felt good. So I'm just glad he's back on the court. Kobe White, I would look for him to have a decent game here. He didn't play well in that first game. Kind of getting used to not having a ball in his hand so much with Levine being back. So yeah, I would lean with I would go with the team total for the Bucks over. If I had to play anything, I would go full game over. But thank God we don't have to play it.
Yeah, Chicago did give up 123 points in that opener to the New Orleans Pelicans.
Without Zion.
Without Zion, yeah, you're
And
right.
Trey, yep.
Yeah, and Trey. But it was a good night for Brandon Ingram, 33.7 rebounds.
Bro, what?
CJ McCollum. Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble. I'm not gonna say anything to that. But Bucks team total I think would be a great look here. I think defensively, especially with now Lonzo being out tonight, right? Because I think that they're gonna injury manage him. We know he's one of the better defenders for the Chicago Bulls. They had Alex Caruso last year as well. He's obviously departed for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Who else am I missing that they had in that backcourt last year? It was really Lonzo and Alex Caruso. So they don't have those two guys. Yeah. So I think Dame is going to continue playing well. Giannis, I think, here as well. You'll get contributions from the other guys there as well. So Bucks team total I think is a great look in this game here for this game between the Bulls and the Bucks. All right, let's keep it moving here, Lonte. Let's get over to the Memphis Grizzlies. They are in Houston to take on the Rockets. This number opened -1. It's up to -3 now with a total of 224. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, Jaren Jackson Jr. is doubtful. Gigi Jackson continues to be out. Luke Kennard is out. Vince Williams Jr. is also out for the Memphis Grizzlies. For the Rockets, Dillon Brooks is probable, Cam Whitmore is probable, and Steven Adams is going to be out as he is dealing with a left calf sprain for the Rockets. We talked about the Rockets earlier, coughing up an 18-point lead to the Charlotte Hornets, losing their home opener. Grizzlies, we saw them go into Utah, pull out the victory late, did not cover the number. Thanks to Lauri Markkanen 3, I believe it was Lauri Markkanen. Yeah, that hit that last minute 3. I'm a little sour on this Grizzlies team because I don't know what was going on with the minutes distribution for this Memphis Grizzlies team. I think they went like 10-11 deep in that Utah
11
game.
To be exact.
Yeah, God, that Ja Morant prop, man, I loved it so much, and unfortunately, I got hooked on it, and I'm not going to get into it. I'm so sour about it. But anyways, Rockets -3 here. Lonte, what are you thinking, man?
Yeah, I like your Rockets here, man. I think Grizzlies, tough travel from altitude, and you're going to Houston. You know, it's a lot of good things to do in Houston. I'm pretty sure you're aware of that.
Ain't nothing
Grizzlies
to do here to eat.
Grizzlies young team. Well, so yeah, I like the Rockets here. I think they'll get better production from the bench, which I think was the story for that Houston. I mean, for the Houston, but for the Charlotte game, Amin was the only guy to score in double digits here. I think he had almost more points than the entire bench combined, if I'm not mistaken, in that game. So I think they'll get a little bit more production from the bench. Hopefully, we can see more Sengun. I have no idea why Ime was not playing him for that long of a stretch. And also on the other side, we saw you were talking about with Memphis. Jenkins used 11-man rotation, and he said in his presser that was the first time he's played 11 guys probably in his career. And he said he thought all 11 guys contributed in different forms of fashions and different stages of the game. So I'm not sure if we're going to see more of that. Maybe he was just doing that for the altitude. I'm not 100% sure. But Edey didn't look good at all. I think I would love to see him versus Steven Adams. So I'm kind of sad that Adams is not in the lineup.
Yeah.
But I do think that we have to go with the Rockets here simply because at home, off of a grueling loss, which they probably thought they should have won. Grizzlies coin flip game, just handicapping 101 would just tell you the Rockets are the side, and I think we saw with the money pushing it up to 2 points. They got the bodies to kind of not control Ja, but kind of make it tough for him. He's been playing a little bit off ball, a little bit more as well with the new offense that they've implemented. Bane was in foul trouble early in the game, didn't get going. No Jaren Jackson to protect the rim. I think I like the Rockets here. I think the Rockets can control the tempo. Hopefully, we see some good Dillon Brooks here for your sake. We got a little revenge game here, so I might be looking for some Dillon Brooks props. But yeah, I like your Rockets tonight, man.
Yeah, this is the one game I was having trouble with. Initially, I liked the Grizzlies in this game, but this line movement is making me nervous a little bit. And I think I want to stay away from this Memphis Grizzlies team right now because of what we talked about with the rotations. We'll talk about another team here next that's also going to be going 11, 12 deep. It's the fact that there's an opportunity for Memphis to pull away in that game against Utah because they got into foul trouble early, did the Utah Jazz. And we know the type of player Ja Morant is when he can easily penetrate to the basket, get easy looks, and draw those fouls and get to the free throw line. But I don't understand why Taylor Jenkins didn't bring him back in at that point when they did get into foul trouble and create that separation. But because as soon as Ja left, that gave the opportunity for the Jazz to get back into that game. So the Rockets, I think that they know, like you mentioned there, Lonte, that they had that 18-point lead. It'll be interesting to see if Zach Edey's able to stay out of foul trouble. I know he fouled out very early in that game against the Utah Jazz. He'll be matched up on Sengun here tonight. But I'm looking for the bench to really have a big game here, like you mentioned, right? The Men Thompson coming off, Cam Whitmore, Tari Eason. So I think that might be the difference in this game between the Grizzlies and the Rockets here, because we talked about the injury report here for the Memphis Grizzlies being without Gigi Jackson, Luke Kennard, Vince Williams Jr. That's pretty much your depth. And when you're having to rely on Scottie Pippen Jr., no disrespect to him, I mean, he earned that contract for sure with the Grizzlies. But I just think the depth for the Rockets may be the difference here in this game. So -3 for me here as well in this game. Total 224. You like anything on the total there?
I probably would go under if I had to play anything.
Yeah.
I think the Rockets and under at home was money last year, if I'm
Yeah.
not
Let me
mistaken.
see.
Obviously, different year, different personnel, and I can kind of see Memphis wanting to play a little bit more methodical, getting Edie the ball. They didn't get Edie a lot of touches, which I thought was kind of interesting because they made an emphasis in the preseason to kind of get him the ball. So I'm interested to see how they play that. Sengun versus Edie. I think JR brought it up in the chat. I think that's an intriguing matchup to see if Edie can kind of bounce back and be a little bit better. He's
Yeah.
going to have his work cut out for him for sure. He was playing he's playing drop coverage, so they were throwing lobs all over the place. So maybe we can look for Man Thompson to kind of get those backdoor lobs off the pick and roll. And I was talking about the bench earlier. Thompson finished. He had 13 points and 4 rebounds in 21 minutes. The 4 other reserves who played total 15 points, 7 of 16 shooting. I think Cam
Yeah.
Whitmore was the only guy who had a positive plus minus at +4. So I think those bench guys play a little bit well. I can see both teams playing a little bit slower pace, not much tempo. So I'll go with the under if I had to play anything.
Yeah, Rockets last season as a home favorite, 20 games. There were 16-4 straight up, 14-5-1 as a home favorite last year, 73.7% on the total. It was split dead even 10-10 on the total there. But I think there again, the emphasis for this Rockets team, and we saw it early in the last year as well, was defense, right? Ime Udoka preached defense. I think we'll see that early here in the season. And there was a point, I think it was either after All-Star break where their games, they're like, yeah, forget defense. They're just starting out. They were just flying all over their total there. But at least early in the season, yeah, I like the under here, 224 here with you. All right, let's move it along here to the next game on the schedule. We've got the Golden State Warriors. They are in Salt Lake City to take on the Jazz. The Warriors are a 3.5-point favorite in this game with a total of 233. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, DeAnthony Milton are all questionable here tonight. For the Warriors, Steph is dealing with a right hip contusion, a Draymond left knee, and DeAnthony Milton as a right chest injury. For the Utah Jazz, Isaiah Collier and Johnny Jusek are going to be out for this game. But other than that, Utah Jazz very, very healthy for this game. Warriors -3.5 in Salt Lake City here, Lonte. What are you thinking about this game?
Love the Jazz here, man. Home dog, Jazz home dog. I mean, come on, we can't. Although Golden State did play well, I was impressed. I mean, I know they won 139 to 104, and I know it was Portland, but I was impressed with them. Buddy Hield, 22 off the bench. If you want to look at the ancillary pieces, Melton, Lindy Waters, who's a good pickup, underrated pickup, Kyle Anderson, they all combined for 20 points. They had 7 players and all scored double figures. 6 of those 7 players made 2+ 3-pointers. And I think Steph Curry really he celebrated his franchise record 16th opening night as a Warrior. So I thought they were a deeper team than what some gave them credit for. I leaned to their over on their win total, but I just couldn't get there because I think if Steph goes down, it's kind of lights out for him. But the Jazz at home, I mean, they let one get away from them. They played extremely well. Got to get a little bit more fluidity in the offense. Marketing was involved. I thought Keontae needs to calm. I love Keontae George. Needs to calm down a little bit on the shots. He's a volume guy. But I mean, overall, I just think it's a good matchup for the Jazz. They got the big Kessler was really good on the inside, 16 and 14. Hendricks played well, shot the ball well, 3 of 5 from 3. And I think Hardy said it all. He said, it's funny you lose by 2 and it doesn't feel good, but I truly did feel like there was more good than bad. So he optimistic approach. The Warriors, man, they outscored Portland in that from the first quarter, I think like 118 to like 69 or something like that. Like I'll get the exact number when we get to Portland, but man, I just don't know how. It's similar to what we said about with Toronto and Cleveland. I feel the same way here. Not really too much to take away from. You can give them credit for what they did, especially the bench, because we're not used to the Warriors having a bench and playing, 7, 8 guys. Curry usually doesn't do that. But in this spot specifically, I think the Jazz are in a good spot here to get a win outright. Maybe speaking about them a little bit later on.
Yeah, so there was a note, and I was alluded to it earlier that Steve Kerr came out and said that I'm trying to find the exact tweet of that news. Warriors plan to keep a 12-man rotation going forward. So, I mean, at that point, you're probably going to see something similar to what we saw in the first game for the Warriors. But again, that game got out of hand. Obviously, a huge blowout victory there the for the Warriors there. But I mean, if he's saying they're going to go 12 deep, I think that kind of messes with like your chemistry and your flow. Like, a lot of these guys probably haven't played with each other outside of the starters. I mean, you mentioned all the guys coming off the bench for them. Everybody that was on the roster or active for the Warriors, they all played at least 5 minutes. And if he's going to go 12 deep here, that'll be something interesting to watch here. You mentioned it, Jazz at home as an underdog. That's something that I can't get away from. I think this team, they don't give up, and we saw that in that game against the Memphis Grizzlies. Like they'll fight to the end. I think Will Hardy, one of the more underrated coaches in the league there. But at least early season, I think we saw this. What was it, last season, the season prior, that it came out and looked really, really good, and then just fell off a little bit. But I think at least early in the season here, them catching points here at home, give me the plus 3.5 here for the Utah Jazz. You have anything on the total 233?
I would go over. But again, we talk about the pace, and with those guys being in and out of the lineup, you don't get a lot of continuity, a lot of fluidity, which is what you want in the over. The Jazz more so than the Warriors. I think the Jazz were playing, close to 8 or 9 guys. They were efficient in what they were doing, and I would think that they would have a little bit of cleanup. They had a little bit of time to clean up some stuff that they saw on film. Warriors on the other side, I mean, you went in, you blasted the Portland Trailblazers. So I mean, how much more are you going to fix? Which is why I think Curry is comfortable with saying he's still going to play 12 guys. Over the final 3 quarters, Trailblazers outscored 118 to 83. So that was disgusting. So yeah, I think that's the time where you can play those guys. 12 that 12-man rotation. But in a game like this, with the point spread saying that it's going to be competitive, I'm not sure if you can play 12 guys. And I think the Jazz are well equipped to hang with them. So I'll go under. Right. I just think that the Warriors won't be able to score as easily here. If you look at that 136, I mean, it's Portland here that we're talking about. So
yeah, it's something similar when we talk about like the Cavs and the Raptors, right?
Yeah,
like I think those two teams. Yeah,
right. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, so I'm gonna go under. If I had to play anything, I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch it over.
I also think there's been an emphasis for the Warriors on the defensive side because they have guys that can actually guard the ball, right? Especially guys coming off the bench. I think JR makes a great point about 2 guys that they picked up. Kyle Anderson coming off of the bench for Draymond, and then also Buddy Hield being a nice upgrade from Clay. I think those are 2 great points there. So, yeah, let's go with the Jazz and the under in this game. All right, let's move it along here to the next game on the board. I believe this is the last game of the night. We've got we got 2 games. The Suns and the Lakers in Hollywood here tonight. Lakers laying 1.5 in this game with a total of 226. Looking at the injury report, start here with the Phoenix Suns. Grayson Allen is probable. Bradley Beal is probable. And only player that will be out for the Suns is Josh Okogie. For the LA Lakers, Jalen Hood-Schifino is doubtful here tonight. And Jared Vanderbilt and Christian Wood continue to be out for this Lakers team. So on opening night, Lakers looked really good, both on offense and defense against the Minnesota Timberwolves. They get the 7-point victory there. Phoenix had to force overtime against the Clippers and come from behind fashion and do get the victory there. I think it was a 3-point victory for the Suns. But now these 2 teams match up. Phoenix, LA on Friday night, -1.5 here. Lonte, what do you think about the Lakers?
Yeah, I struggled with this one. To be honest, I can make a case for both sides. I ended up just going with the Lakers at home. The Suns didn't have to travel. They played in LA. A couple nights ago. So that's a part of the handicap as well. So you're catching them. The Suns are in an advantageous spot as well. So the Lakers both were in LA. So I think that doesn't matter. And the Lakers didn't necessarily play well. They shot the ball horribly, but the intensity, attention to detail, I thought was off the charts for them. You saw each guy that was coming in, with the exception of Bronny, we're playing extremely hard to the point where I was like, what team is this? After somebody watched the Lakers struggle for the past, 7-8 years with intensity and just attention to detail, I thought they hit that really good. Playing through AD was what I've been saying, and plenty of other Laker fans have been saying since he was on the team. You want to play through AD and make everybody else around him, just he can make everybody better because he can do everything. We saw him experiment with the threes a little bit. So the Suns on the other side, I mean, I don't know what to say. Maybe you got more thoughts on it. I was just kind of left with like, whatever. I thought they were going to be a little bit better, especially with an undermanned Clippers team. I thought they would come in and do similar to what we saw the Bucks do with Philly, but that didn't happen. Maybe, I mean, this is a big game, so maybe they get up for the Lakers. I mean, who doesn't? So
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with the Lakers here. Also, while we're on it, I mean, total under. I think both teams slower pace here, half court game. Don't see a lot. I mean, Lakers not gonna wake up and shoot 40% from three.
Mhm.
So I think the Lakers can do a good job of defending KD, Booker, and Beal here. So I think we see a lower scoring game. I think both teams struggle to get to like 110.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not a huge deal early in the season here, but the Lakers who have an extra day of rest here as well. But I mean, like you mentioned, for the Suns, it wasn't a travel situation because they play the Clippers in that new arena there in Intuit Dome. But yeah, obviously, just staying there in LA. Um, I think it's Lakers here for me as well. I didn't.
It's
I really
hard.
didn't.
It's hard to find. Like I can
I
make a
feel like
case for
this
both
line is
sides.
spot on. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
feel like
is.
this
It
line is
is.
spot on.
It is. It is.
But traditionally we've seen Phoenix play the Lakers tough and better. But it's like you mentioned, lad. I know it's only was one game for the Lakers with JJ Redick as the head coach there. But I think I mentioned this to you that anytime like there was a run that the Minnesota Timberwolves were making, you didn't see a head coach on the sideline there with his hands in his pocket, just kind of looking dumbfounded. But JJ Redick made the appropriate rotation moves and subs and calling timeouts and making those adjustments. And I think that's to your point about the past several years where they've kind of gone through that head coaching carousel, that maybe they have a guy that obviously played the game for so many years, was a color commentator for so many years, so he knows the game of basketball as well. I'm not saying that Darvin Ham doesn't, but when you play the game more recently, because the game has changed, I think JJ Redick, I think is going to be a great head coach, obviously, for this Lakers team. Anthony Davis had a fantastic game one. I mean, it was personal for him going up against Rudy Gobert. But I think I think a lot of people know that Anthony Davis is the best player on the Lakers. I don't think that's a hot take here, Lonte, because LeBron, like at this point of his career, he's not going to be able to be that guy every single night for this Lakers team. And I think that's where Anthony Davis, guys like that, Austin Reeves have to step up. For this Phoenix Suns team, I mean, look, coming off that overtime game, Kevin Durant played 44 minutes in that game. So I say all that to be on the Lakers side here, -1.5. I think this line is spot on. Gun to my head, Lakers. Total 226. You mentioned that. I think the under's in play here as well. I think, again, the focus for the Lakers is going to be on that defensive side. And when you have guys that can play defense led by Anthony Davis, I think that there's a good opportunity here that this does go under the total at 226. You got anything else for this game?
No, don't.
All right, last game of the night. Let's get over to the New Orleans Pelicans. They are in Portland to take on the Trailblazers. Pelicans laying 5.5 in this game with a total of 218.5. The number's now on the move to 6. Injury report for both of these teams to start here with the New Orleans Pelicans. Do not see Zion on the injury report, so he should be making a season debut. Trey Murphy continues to be out. DeJounte Murray, we just got the news as we're recording here, will be out 4 to 6 weeks with that fractured hand. So I think that CJ McCollum, coincidentally, will get a start here against his former team in Portland. We just talked extensively about the Portland Trailblazers, but let me kind of go through their injury report here quickly. Shaedon Sharpe is out, Matisse Thybulle is out, and Robert Williams III is also going to be out. So 3 key pieces there for the Portland Trailblazers. Talked about it. They gave up 140 points to the Golden State Warriors in their opening game. Pelicans -6, let's call it here. Lonte, what do you think about this game?
Good spot for Pelicans here. I know the injury of DeJounte was pretty big, but they're accustomed to playing without DeJounte, so I don't think that it's a big thing here. They'll just slide CJ into the starting lineup. Ironically, against his homecoming to Portland, I think he has a big night. This this line is similar to what we saw with I forgot who was laying this number on the road um earlier in the game. I got to go back and look, but
Are you
it's
talking about
similar
today?
handicap. Say it again.
You meant today?
Yeah, today. Who was laying
Sixers.
a?
It's probably Sixers.
That's what it is. Sixers. Yeah, I think it's in a prime spot. We mentioned the Blazers' struggles after the first quarter. They don't have a lot of they have a lot of injury stuff going on. They were disappointed after the loss. Chauncey Billups said it was disappointing. DeAndre Ayton said it was embarrassing. Said they got to figure it out. He's like he feel like they were jittery. It was like first game of the year, but I mean they could have came out a little bit better than that after that first quarter. Something in me wanted to play the Trailblazers in the first quarter, but I'm gonna stay away and I'm just gonna play the Pelicans in the first half. Pelicans first half was a cash machine last year.
Yeah.
Zion coming back. Brandon Ingram, we saw have a really good game. I think their depth will be on full display here. Jordan Hawkins is primed to have a big second year. I think he's primed to do some big things in this game as well. So I like the Pelicans here. I like the Pelicans at anything under 7. I think he's still got room to go. So if it's shoots up in the middle of the day, I think you can play it up to 7. I like the Pelicans to roll here.
Yeah, until I don't see improvement on the defensive side here, I think you got to continue just taking team total overs for the opposing teams of like the Blazers and the Raptors. And I think this is another game here where I would look at the Pelicans side here with you, -6 team total over. I think that they'll be able to dominate in that front court, even with Zion coming back. But again, you just kind of look at this roster for this Portland Trail Blazers team. It's Jeremy Grant. He was 6 of 18. Denny Avdia already doesn't excite me. DeAndre Ayton.
10 and 11. I think DeAndre can have a big game, though. They don't
Yeah,
have
I think so
New
too.
Orleans
Yeah,
doesn't have a center.
Yeah, I think if you want a player prop in this game here for sure, you'd look at Ayton rebounds. But the roster doesn't excite me, man. I think the difference could be is that when we talk about some of these poorer teams, that they just don't have the 3-point shooting. And I think the only player obviously on this team for the Blazers is Anthony Simons, right? That is their consistent 3-point shooter. And even he went 2 of 7. I don't know, it was the first game there. Like you mentioned, maybe he has some jitters there, but I just think that the Pelicans will just outclass them. And I think overall from 1 to 7, 1 to 8, 1 to 9, the Pelicans are 100% the better team here. So yeah, Pelicans laying the points here and team total over as the play here for me. All right. Anything else for this game here, Lonte?
Nah, that's it.
All right, man. That is the last game of the night here. Let's get to our lock and dog, and then we'll get into our Underdog Fantasy entry here. You want to lead us off?
Yeah, so let's lock up the New York Knicks. I think it's a great spot for them at home, season opener in the Garden. You got some immediate revenge from what happened in the playoffs with Indiana. Wasn't really impressed with Indiana, although they got a win in the fourth quarter against Detroit. Didn't look good. I think the Knicks were just overshadowed by literally a historic night from Boston. So I think we're getting a little bit more value than what we would have been if that game played out a little bit more, a little bit closer. So I like the Knicks to be at home, more comfortable. I think Bridges and OG will be more effective defensively, especially. So I like the Knicks -4.5 at home. Dog, I mean, we talked about it, man. I'm going with the Jazz at home. Let me see what the best number is for the Jazz. 135. See anything better than that?
Utah 135 is your best number.
Yeah, I see 135. I like 135. I think the Jazz are going to get it done. Obviously, really good at home. I think they'll be better equipped down the stretch because down the stretch they just didn't play well. They just didn't execute to the level that they were executing early in the game against Memphis. So I think Laurie has a big game as well. The rotation of guards and Taylor Hendricks up front with Kessler, I think they'll outduel tonight. I like the Jazz to get a win versus the Warriors.
All right. For my lock, I'm just going to continue fading this team. Give me the Sixers -5.
I like that
against the Toronto Raptors. We talked about all the injuries that they are dealing with. Are the Raptors? I know Paul George and Joel Embiid are going to be missing, but I still think that the depth for this Sixers team will really be able to step up here tonight. Defensively, I think Toronto is going to be one of the worst defensive teams, and I think that we saw it in that first game where the Cavs were, I think, only up a point after the first quarter, and they were able to pull away for the rest of the game. And I think the Sixers will play better here tonight. I just think that, again, this will be a big win here for the Sixers. So I'll lay the points here minus the 5 for my dog. I'm going to swing for the fences here, Lonte.
Detroit.
Give me Detroit Pistons.
Oh, let's go.
I see plus 430 on the money line here. Obviously, play that plus 11 there as well. However you do your unit distribution, if you want to go like 3/4 of a unit on that spread and 1/4 of a unit on that money line for the Detroit Pistons. I think this Cavs team, I'm not taking anything away from what transpired against the Raptors. I've said that multiple times. I think that we talk about the revenge angle for JB Bickerstaff going back against Cleveland. I think Detroit rises to the occasion here. Plus 425 on the money line against the Cleveland Cavaliers as my dog. And, of course, on that plus 11 here as well. All right, so those are our lock and dog. Let's wrap it up here with our Underdog Fantasy entry here for tonight, Lonte. You have anybody that's sticking out to you? I think we have to put, no matter what the number is, Andre Drummond into our lineup
I agree with that.
For our entry here for tonight.
I agree with that. Yep.
All right.
Higher, 13.5.
Yeah, we'll go higher. I also like this as well, that they have his first quarter rebounds at 4 because he had like 8 in the first quarter, I think, or something like that. But I see 14, but I honestly think Lonte's going to walk into like 20 here tonight. I wouldn't be shocked. All right, so we'll go Drummond there. Who else do you like here for tonight?
I like Giannis, man. Points and rebounds higher. Do they have that?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Let's see here. Giannis.
39.5 should be.
See points, rebounds, and assists. Points and rebounds is 40.5.
That's fine. I think he's been crushing that against the Bulls, especially against Vucevic. I think he's averaging like 43 P plus R.
Yeah, can't talk you off. We got one more that we lock here for tonight. Should we just go like Cam Thomas points or something?
You know what? I actually like. Hold on. It's when did I bet? I'm trying to scroll through to see. I like Zion. I like Zion. Points.
What do you points?
Yeah, I like his points.
25.5.
Ah, damn.
Yeah.
I bet. Let's hold back on that. 25 on that. That's kind of high. What were you thinking?
I mean, do we just go lower your points, man?
Why not? Yeah, I love Laurie in this spot. The only thing that will pause for calls, I think he's gonna see a lot of Draymond.
Bro, you gonna blow past Draymond. Draymond ain't it anymore.
Man, I'm telling you. Listen, yeah, we can go Laurie. What is it? 24.5?
23.5.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Or I know Brunson's number is gonna be high, but he's at 28.5. I think that's too large for him.
Yeah, that is. I guess it's gonna be.
The chat has anything that you guys like tonight?
Oh, bro, Ayton. Yeah, I love Ayton.
Points,
rebounds. Points, rebounds. Yeah, thank you, JR. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Points and rebounds they don't have it. They have PRA 28.5, 15.5 points, and they have 11 rebounds.
Let's go rebounds.
Rebounds, all right.
Yeah, no big for no really big men for New Orleans. I mean, Misi was fine, but he's still a rookie at the end of the day. I think Ayton could, but I really wanted, P plus R.
Yeah. All right. So our entry tonight, we're gonna go Andre Drummond higher 14 rebounds, Giannis points and rebounds higher 40.5, and then we'll go DeAndre Ayton higher 11 rebounds. That $10 entry there will get you a return of $60. But also don't forget they have Profit Boost going on right now for the NBA season. Tipping off this week over at Underdog Fantasy. And if you haven't already signed up, come join the fun here. Make sure you use that promo code NBA SGPN. And again, come cash in with us. Hopefully we make it a winning entry here for tonight for our Underdog Fantasy entry. All right, that is going to wrap it up for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast. Lonte, anything else you want to mention, my man, before we get out of here?
That's it, man. First, it's our first, my first podcast, hour long, man. I got to get some water and get back in I got to get back to practicing, man.
Yeah, I'm heading over to the Propcast with Chris to do our NFL Week 8 props. So if you want to join us there, we're going to be live about 14 minutes if you're in the chat there. So if you want to join us for our Week 8 NFL props, We'll be live there on the Propcast feed there. So join us there if you guys want to. We'll be back next week for the NBA Gambling Podcast. So look out for us then. Make sure you guys subscribe to the NBA Gambling Podcast YouTube channel. You can give us a follow on Twitter as well at SGPN NBA. And like I mentioned, we'll be back next week. All right, enjoy the games this weekend across all the sports that are happening.
Yes, sir.
Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off, and always remember to let it ride.